See everyone, and Happy New Year to you and your families. As the country saw this morning, the Prime Minister has said that he was going to step down as Prime Minister. But that doesn't mean he's no longer Prime Minister for the next month or 2 months. We need the Prime Minister to focus 100% on the U.S. tariffs. We have 14 days left before elect President Trump gets inaugurated, and we need to focus to make sure these tariffs don't move forward, and if they do move forward, we need to make sure that the federal government has a strong plan. The Prime Minister said he'd sit down with all the premiers, face-to-face meeting. I still want to hold him to that promise. He still will be Prime Minister for a month, maybe 2 months, but that has to be his number one focus.
I can tell you for New Democrats and for me personally, we spent the past 2 years fighting. We had to fight every step of the way. Every victory we secured for Canadians was a battle, was an all-out brawl. We fought to bring in dental care. Just to remind folks, the Liberals voted against it multiple times. They said no again and again. Even when we convinced them to move forward, they said it's going to take a decade to put in place. We fought back and secured these things. They weren't going to move forward on protection for workers. We forced them to do so. They weren't going to move forward on pharmacare. We had to threaten them. We had to fight with them, and we secured that as well. So it was a battle. But one of the things that did stand out for me is how much Justin Trudeau is close to his family and to his kids. And I hope now that he's made this decision, he'll be able to spend more time with his family.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you'll have some questions on the news of the day, but we are going to proceed with the previously planned announcement first. I would say that I have been calling for an election. Whatever internal dynamics the Liberal Party has to go through to get to that point is kind of up to them. But I would have preferred today to see an election call, because I don't think 2 months delay is going to make any bit of difference to how Canadians are looking at this administration. Why do we need an election? We need an election so that whoever is in the chair has a 4-year mandate. And so when we go to negotiate with the United States, there's some certainty about who the players are going to be at the table. So I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't get an election call today. I think that would have been the better outcome, and it would have allowed for the Prime Minister to go to the public and see whether or not they support his agenda of the last number of years. I think the polling results suggest that's not the case. So we're putting this forward, hoping that it becomes a topic of discussion through the leadership race as well as through the general election. We want a willing and supportive partner with the federal government. It would certainly be nice to have a federal government that wasn't looking at ways of continuing to shut down production and stand in the way of this kind of progress. And so optimistically, we hope whoever emerges successful when this is over is going to be able to keep pace with the kind of production we want to do in Alberta. I think from what I am reading on social media and elsewhere, the U.S. president seems intent on putting tariffs in place. And so we're in a position now where we've got a lame duck leader with no immediate plans to leave, with no resolution to who is going to be the bargaining partner until, I think it was suggested, as late as May. So I believe it's up to myself, the other premiers, to make the case to the Americans ourselves in the absence of federal leadership. And so that's why I'm going to the inauguration. I'll be staying there for 4 or 5 days. I hope to be able to put forward the case that I made today about how we are the Americans' best friend and trading partner. We can provide the resources that they need to be successful, and that we are also their biggest consumer. We buy $293 billion worth of products from the United States.
Anything you want to mention?
Now that he's gone, what has to happen is that people have to somehow or other differentiate themselves from Trudeau on both of those things, right? The policies as well as the personality. Now, you could say, okay, well, for the party itself, there are any number of capable cabinet ministers there who are going to put they're going to try to succeed him, right? But then if it's the policies, they're too close to him. So I think it's going to be a challenge for the Liberal Party leadership. And I think in some ways, you could argue that the person who is best positioned here to replace Trudeau would be an outsider, somebody who hasn't served in his cabinet, but who would nonetheless have a high profile. And of the names that come up, the most obvious name there would be Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. So I think that's what we're going to see is this kind of maneuvering here, and because the Liberal Party will clearly be wanting to recover a lot of this lost vote, and so it's really going to be a very interesting leadership battle. I think. I guess just to repeat that I think in some ways it's a kind of foregone conclusion.
His resignation, I think it's long overdue. I used to, at the beginning, I liked Trudeau. He did many things that I liked, cannabis. But he's lost his way in the last few years. I think he's dividing the party. I think the the Liberal Party is rebelling. No one has faith in the leader, Trudeau. He's lost touch.